Yo, what's up, guys? My name is Pete. This is Bernie over here at The Charge. Right now, I'm going to pose a question to my good friend Bernie because he is the most diehard Celtics fan I know in my personal life. Maybe not diehard, but in my personal life as a West Coaster, you're the most diehard Celtics fan I know. I want to ask you two questions. The first one being, what went wrong? And I know that the Celtics are probably still going to finish in the top 4 seeds of the Eastern Conference, but the question that I do want to ask is this. What do you think was the biggest mistake that the Celtics made coming into this season or throughout the course of this season that's put them in this kind of chemistry funk that they're in?
I think the biggest issue with the Boston Celtics in terms of chemistry is the fact that I think off the field, or I guess not off the field, but more off the court, they're friends. They hang out with each other. You know, Jason Tatum and Kyrie have a perfect relationship. I just think on the court, I don't think Brad Stevens has done a great enough job of really setting boundaries and setting rules and regulations as to, okay, Kyrie, you were allowed this many times to do off the script stuff, and then Jason Tatum, you're allowed this much, and just really putting more, I wouldn't say a leash, but being more of a Greg Popovich style coach and saying, all right, we're going to play through the system because we've seen throughout the years that if we play through the system, we'll be all right. And I know that a lot of guys like Chris Broussard have talked about how they feel that Brad Stevens isn't a guy that can coach superstars, because we all know that the coaches that can coach superstars and the ones that coach like minimal talent and get the most production out of them, that's what Brad Stevens did last season. And I just think that that's what's really triggered right now a lot of Celtics players to not really take that next step forward. I mean, Jason Tatum is about the same. Jaylen Brown has played all right. But, you know, some of these other guys have really taken a step back. Like Terry Rozier, we expected, you know, a great backup point guard for the time. And I was okay with him going after the season because I think that he deserves to be on the team and start. I just think that that's really the biggest issue right now in Boston. It's just figuring out what each team can do in terms of really setting the boundaries and really playing through a system, because on the court, it is not looking that great except for that Warriors game where I think now we're going to start seeing a little bit of a different Celtics team.
Maybe, yeah. And
also the fact that Gordon Hayward is still trying to recover from that fractured injury. I think that's also something that's still affecting him to this day.
Certainly, yeah.
And I just think that also with I think it's going to take him a longer time. I think people just expect him, as soon as he just got healed, he was going to be the same player.
Absolutely. But look, I mean, the thing people neglect to remember is Paul George took 2 or 3 years to even be, you know, similar to the player he was. So I'm going to start by saying this, like in the great words of Jalen Rose, happiness is a function of realistic expectations, right? And I think the biggest problem with the Celtics team is that they all came in with maybe greater expectations of their role on the team or what the team was going to accomplish than, like, they set themselves up to fail as much as the media set them up to fail, right? Because there was a lot of people saying that this team is an easy lock to win the East.
No.
This is the best team that the Warriors will have faced in the finals, even better than the Cavaliers teams with LeBron. Like, all of those things go to young players' heads as much as it goes to like a veteran's head, you know? And I think like the young players that took this team to the Eastern Conference Finals last year and really should have won, right? They should have won that Eastern Conference Finals based on how they played. But at the time, they were the worst team in comparison to the Cavaliers. They were the worst team in comparison to the 76ers and the Bucks, realistically. They should have lost any one of those series. But I think like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum in particular, as well as Terry Rozier for that matter, they all came into this saying, we went to the Eastern Conference Finals, right? But the thing that they forget is that the Bucks didn't have a coach. The 76ers were just a mess. And then
they still are.
They still are a mess, to be fair. But they were definitely a mess. And then the Cavaliers that they almost beat were really a terrible team that only had LeBron, you know? So I think their expectations of what they were going to accomplish this season were probably just not there. You know, they were just a little too high. And they thought, like, why wouldn't they just stick with us? We carried this team to the Eastern Conference Finals. And then Gordon Hayward and Kyrie come back and they're like, clearly we're the stars of the team, you know? So everybody had these mixed perceptions of what the Celtics were going to be. And Brad Stevens does not seem like the guy who's going to be like, well, you guys are, this is your second year in the league. Like, shut up and let Kyrie and Gordon Hayward play. he hasn't done a good enough job of like really laying the law down. I agree, but I do think like all of these guys, there's just so much personality on the Celtics that it's like it's a lot to handle.
And I just think also too, there's not a real leader on this team. Like
No.
a guy that I expected to be the leader, in my opinion, was a guy like Marcus Morris, or even a quiet leader in Al Horford. But those guys have.
He's the closest thing they have.
The thing is that Al Horford's personality and Marcus Morris might have that personality, but I was looking more towards Al Horford because he's the guy with the most pedigree there. He's 32 years old. He's understood the league.
Yeah.
And I just think that he should have really set the tone for this team, and I thought that he would. But, looking at his personality and looking back at it, he didn't really set the law. We know that Kyrie Irving wanted to be, like, I deemed him, and I always talk about it, the Nightwing of the NBA. He wants to be away from Batman, aka LeBron James, and be his own guy in his own city. And it just hasn't worked out for him yet because he's still kind of in the shadow of LeBron. Like, Kyrie Irving hasn't been playing that well. Is he really better than LeBron James? Or the bigger storyline is the Celtics play better without Kyrie Irving.
It's like kind of not close either. Like the plus minus of the lineups they put out without him is like significantly better. I mean, a lot of it comes down to like, it's not Horford's fault. If I had to pin it on one person, and I don't necessarily think it's his fault, I would say it's Kyrie, right? Because I think he has clearly the biggest ego on the entire team,
right?
Besides maybe Rozier or Marcus Smart, but like it's clearly Kyrie who has this big ego. And I think he wanted to be the leader, and I think it's just like a colossal failure on his part.
Yeah, I just think Kyrie Irving just thought, all I have to do is just lead by example, score this many points, get this many assists, and, at some points yell at my team. But LeBron James should have shown him that, look, it takes more than just scoring points and Instagram photoing with teammates. It's a lot of more of inside stuff. And I hate to bring this up because he's a football guy, but Tom Brady does this like to a T.
Yeah.
When he sees the young guys coming, he goes up to those guys. I think I'm going to steal this from Colin Cowherd, but a lot of people like look up to Brady and look up to guys like LeBron James. They're all like this. Definitely. Like almost like worshiping him, but we don't believe in that. But just in terms of Tom Brady steps off from the pedestal,
absolutely,
goes down and greets these guys, says like, "Hey, what's up, rookie? My name's Tom Brady. Like, I'm glad to be working with you," and stuff like that. Yeah. I think that Kyrie Irving, maybe at 26 years old, he doesn't understand that. Maybe as he gets a little older, but I just don't think that's his personality or style to be a leader type of player.
But and this has a lot to do with some of Adam Silver's comments, which we're going to talk about later. But I think like the problem with a guy like Kyrie is the same problem with a guy like KD. They're just constantly thinking about what's next to the point that they can't see the situation that's right in front of them. And I think Kyrie's problem last year, or maybe it wasn't even a problem, maybe this was a good thing for him last year, but he was thinking about what the team is going to look like this year. And now that he's here, he's trying to think about what he's going to do next year when his contract runs out, and it's distracting him to the point where he can't do his job right now. And I think it's a sign of the times kind of thing, where that generation of player, the KD, Kyrie era of player, just does not have leadership abilities. It's not like ingrained in them. No. They just don't get it.
I think leadership is something that is really rare because, if everybody was a leader, everybody would be butting heads and we wouldn't get anywhere, and everyone would be like how it was in the 80s and 90s. They would be all, trying to fight each other, be the alpha dog. But I just think that guys like LeBron James are great leaders. Steph Curry is a great leader. Those guys are really rare and hard to find. And I just think that if you don't have that in your locker room or on your team, you're screwed. I don't think that you're winning a championship without that type of mentality.
No, absolutely not. I don't think so. I think this is going to be the biggest point we make, I think, is the lack of leadership is the thing that hurts this team the most. Because Gordon Hayward is a quiet dude. Kyrie is just not loud in the right ways.
Mixed personality.
Brad Stevens is a quiet leader too. He's never in their faces on the sidelines if they're doing something stupid. Just none of them. And this bleeds into a lot of different things in our generation, in our era. Yeah. There's not a lot of leaders out there to take charge of anything right now. So I think in the NBA, where these guys just are kind of given the silver spoon once they get into the league, They feel like they can do whatever it is.
I mean, not even that. I mean, when they enter in AAU basketball, when they,
absolutely,
coaches are recruiting them, they're like, instead of, how it used to be, it was like you go to your high school coach, high school coach yells at you. Then you go to college, your college coach yells at you.
Yeah, those guys aren't out there anymore.
No, because that style and that system just doesn't work anymore because everyone's grown so accustomed to the AAU style where it's like, oh, please join our team. We'll give you this, this, and this. The college system, it's, oh, you play for 1 year. Come join our school. We'll give you this, this, and this. Yeah, and then we just see the coaches right now in the NBA that they don't really matter as much as they used to. I mean, we see guys, like Luke Walton take control of the Warriors for a little bit and, helped out Steve Kerr when he had his bad back.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know, dude. It's kind of complicated because then you have guys like Tatum and Jaylen Brown who are there, and the guy that they have been looking up to in the NBA before they even made it to the league is a guy like Kyrie, right? And then they actually play with him, and they're like, "What? Like you're nothing, dude. You're just another guy. So why am I going to listen to what you have to say, especially when you go out there and talk all this reckless nonsense about me when I helped carry your team to the finals last year?" Or the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the same thing with like Michael Jordan and the Wizards.
Absolutely.
When all those kids are like, wow, I looked up to him. I watched him in those, 96, 97, 98 finals. And then all of a sudden you're getting yelled at by us, like a guy like Kwame Brown, for example, who's on that team.
Yeah.
Getting yelled at by him, getting pressured by him, all this other stuff that really causes the team to, or these guys to really hate guys like that. And even like, let's say, for example, LeBron James now. Yeah. Like Kyle Kuzma, Lonzo Ball, all idolized LeBron James or wanted to mimic his game. Yeah. They talk to him. They want, and I think LeBron James did a bad job this season of doing it, was being a leader for those guys and really setting an example and a tone for them.
But let me play devil's advocate, right? Because in a sense, you see those guys see a guy like Kyrie or a guy like KD do whatever it is that they feel like they have to or want to do. Yeah. And then I think the thing they need the most is leadership, but the thing that they despise the most is being told what to do, Yeah. The whole generation taught them that they could go make their own situation on another team. Even though that team might not be where the entire NBA wants them to go, they can go there or they can play this specific way. So then a guy like Jason Tatum sees LeBron, right? Or let me use a guy on the Lakers. Like a guy like Kuzma sees a dude like LeBron. He has never had a leader like that in his basketball life, probably. No. He goes and then LeBron is there telling him, do this, do this, do this. And he might not see LeBron do those things, but he doesn't understand that you have to rally behind somebody. And if you're not willing to do it, then just do what that person tells you to do, Because sometimes that's all it takes. Having like a one-minded person in charge sometimes will bring everybody together.
Yeah, but I mean, this is probably just going to stem to like a different conversation.
For sure. So let me ask you my second question, right? So we can kind of move on from the Celtics. What do you think their off-season move should be? Like, how do you think they should structure their team? Should they go after these big stars like AD, try and keep Kyrie, or maybe recenter themselves around the young dudes?
I mean, it really depends on what moves they're trying to make. I mean, if they can confirm 110% that Kyrie Irving is going to stay, then I don't mind him staying and saying.
But do you want him though?
I mean, like he kind of reminds me of like a guy like Antonio Brown or OBJ. They really add a lot of value to your team. They're gonna do a lot of stuff for you. Like for example, they'll get you those crazy points, those crazy layups, those clutch points, clutch layups. And I just think that that's what you need sometimes on a team. If I was the Celtics, I would probably, if it came down to Jason Tatum or Kyrie Irving staying or leaving, I'd probably go Jason Tatum.
I would go with the young guys. I would honestly, if I was the Celtics, I would say, all right, Kyrie, see ya. We're not going to drop the max on you. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Try and trade Hayward if they can. And then you just work with these young guys and you already saw that they can do it in a weaker Eastern Conference. So why not just have this team built around these young guys? I mean, that, to me, I don't see why that doesn't make sense. Rather than trade the farm for AD, so to say.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I'm really curious to know what the Danny Ainge's plan is, especially now that we're going to more than likely get the Clippers' first-round pick. Yeah. Like, what are we going to be able to do some sort of package deal where we don't have to give up the whole farm to get a guy like AD.
It's possible, yeah. But then, I mean, do you think like Jaylen Brown or Tatum, even if they didn't get traded, do you think they even want to stay there and re-up their contracts? They might not.
Maybe not, but I think that Jason Tatum, I'm doing everything in my power to keep Jason Tatum. I think that he's going to be a superstar type of player in this league. It just depends on how much he can grow and get that development.
Yeah. Here, let me ask you one last quick question about the Celtics. Who do you think that this season hurt the most? Brad Stevens, Kyrie? Like, whose stock had the worst hit this season as a Celtics?
Probably Brad Stevens, honestly, because
there was
the thing around the league before the beginning of the season was that he was the next heir apparent to Greg Popovich, the next best coach out there, and the fact that he's not able to control his team. Yeah, right now they're third in the Atlantic and they're like fifth, I believe, in the standings for the conference. He was supposed to be the guy that got this team at least 60 wins and is ready to go for the playoffs now. And I just don't think that's going to happen in terms of, he's not going to get 60 wins.
Yeah.
But I think that he should have done a better job with this roster, especially because I know the expectations were high and maybe they were overestimated a little bit because we didn't know how the East was going to stack up, especially with Kawhi Leonard going to the Raptors, Giannis and the Bucks, surprising a lot of people, getting almost 60 wins.
Yeah.
I think if the buck stops with him, I would probably do like a pie kind of, or just like a percentage of blame, and I think that he deserves at least 55% of the blame.
Wow, that's a lot.
And then I think Kyrie Irving deserves the other. Let's go Kyrie Irving. So what am I? Let's go 50% just to make it easy for math. Okay. I'm not that good at it. So we'll go Brad Stevens at 50%. Okay. I'm going to go Kyrie Irving 30%.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go Danny Ainge 20%.
Okay, so I would say, I won't do your pie, even though I think that is probably the best way to do it. But just for timing, I'll say my biggest person, I would say it's the front office in general, because they've had any number of opportunities to fix their biggest problem, which is too many guys on the team. Mm-hmm. They could have traded Rozier for a first, easy. They could have gotten Marcus Smart as one of the best tradable contracts in the entire league. Could have traded him, Marcus Morris. You don't want to see those guys go, but at a certain point, if your biggest problem is too many guys and not enough minutes, you have to make trades. And they could very easily have gotten a lot of picks out of those guys. Mm-hmm. And then you have 6 first-round picks to offer the Pelicans or some crazy shit, right? Yeah. But they didn't do anything. So now you have a bunch of unhappy guys whose stock, as far as trade value, is dropped, I would say, significantly this season. Especially Jaylen Brown and Rozier. Significant dip in their value. That's my pick, front office. Anyway, guys, you have anything else on the Celtics?
No, I'm good.
Tell us who you think who's the most to blame for the Celtics situation. And I want to make something clear for both of us. We actually still have faith that this team could turn it around. There is still a significant opportunity for them to make the finals. It's just a matter of they have been so far away from the expectation that they had coming into the season. And based on the talent that they do have, this team really should be a 60-win team. So, who do you think's to blame? Who do you think they should focus on keeping or getting rid of in free agency or just the offseason in general? And, go ahead and smash that like button and that subscribe button. You can do that. My name is Pete. This is Bernie. We are the boys over at The Charge. Love you. Appreciate you. Peace.